Heyo, there are spoilers for the entire story of The World Ends With You in this video. It's an incredible game, so if you haven't experienced it yet yourself, I would heavily recommend doing that first. Get ready! Meet Neku Sakuraba and explore his ordinary world. However, little of it you or Neku gets to see. He's introduced without much background, except that he's edgier than a sharpened kitchen knife. He doesn't remember anything about his previous life, and the things causing stress in his life right now are other people. Why should he have to interact with anyone else? It's not like there's any point. Neku is called to adventure when he wakes up in the Shibuya Scramble Crossing with two strange pins. Not before long he's attacked by frogs and he's defenseless. A strange peppy girl named Shiki forces him to form a pact with her. Neku tries to avoid the whole situation. He denies the reality of the situation he's in and he tries to leave Shiki. He eventually chooses to go along with her for a while. He's still very hesitant about the entire situation, not knowing what to make of it. Later, when given the opportunity of opting out of the entire situation by killing Shiki, he tries to take it and leave. Save yourself, screw everyone else, right? He doesn't get to fully go through with his plan when a strange man appears and forces him to stop. This is undeniably Neku's first mentor. He shows Neku he's being deceived and teaches the two kids about this strange world called the Yuji that they are in. Neku finally commits and crosses into the threshold and participates in the strange Reapers game. He starts learning to work with Shiki and completing each separate task they are given despite their differences in life values and views. Along the way, Neku meets many allies and enemies. Here's where the story analysis starts to fall apart because The World Ends With You consists of separate weeks of trials. On each day of a week, a test is given. Finish the week without being erased and you're allowed to go home. A chance to participate in the game is purchased with an entry fee. Neku is forced to survive 3 weeks instead of the usual 1 week due to special circumstances. He gains allies in his partners Shiki, Joshua, and Beat, but also a few other allies he never specifically teams up with. He has to fight against his enemies like Reapers and Noise and Game Masters. In the 3rd week, Neku is teamed up with a boy named Beat. By this point, he has newfound hope for the human population and for himself. Instead of simply making through another week of trials, Beat and Neku look for the composer, the one managing these Reapers games. They want to take him down to end these awful games and to revive / release Diamond Shiki. Yeah, that happened, because remember when I said that this is where the analysis falls apart? Because 2.5 weeks are shoved into test allies and enemies due to the style of this game's writing, where each week could be separated into their own individual hero's journey, and ending at step 12 only in the final week. For now, just know that Beat and Neku are going to fight the big bad, the composer. Neku's ordeal comes when he finally has to reevaluate everything he knew and respected in his past. He questions his methodology, throws away his idol, and replaces it with what is now the most important thing to him. That is, his friends. Neku has thrown away his past life, but the direct subordinate of the composer tries to destroy his player pin, which allows him to keep a pact with his partner. Even though his pin is destroyed, he is able to fight him due to the power of friendship. I know it sounds dumb, but I promise you this game is a lot better than it seems. Defeating him allows Neku to be reunited with his 3 friends. He's not completely taken down, and his friends are captured once more. In one last battle, implementing all 4 of the partner's abilities, they finally take down their foes, opening the road home. Right when Joshua thinks he has a way home, he's overcome with his last trial. The full truth about his death is revealed. He learns that Joshua was the true mastermind, the true composer. He's forced to enter a final game with Joshua. If Joshua wins, Shibuya is destroyed. If Neku wins, he goes home. It's a simple shootout, first person to turn around and shoot the other of the winner. Neku is unable to pull the trigger on his friend, and he is shot, killed, and loses the game. Neku wakes up in the real world. Despite his loss in the final game, Shibuya is still here. Neku has changed, he understands himself and others, and every one of his friends is here again. That is, all of them except Joshua. Neku's ordinary world is fascinating in the way that you know next to nothing about it. It's only in the 2nd week where any details are revealed, but even so, only a little information is released. In the ordinary world, the hero is often uncomfortable. Neku is comfortable in the position he's in, and he doesn't want to change. He's also introduced in an unsympathetic way, being generally repulsive in personality. The way Neku is presented, with no background about his life, it brings the player to dislike Neku. By making the worst person possible and sacrificing an appealing first impression, each other story aspect is amplified. While every day is literally a new test, Neku's biggest test is learning to deal with other people. These become his biggest tests, and it forms new allies with his greatest foe, being himself. He learns to comfort Shiki in her self-esteem problem, and helps her resolve regretful relationships. He learns to deal with the incessantly bratty but clever Joshua, despite his mysteries and his attitude. He forgives Beat for the trouble he caused him. Each person is given a different arc and resolution that pushes Neku forward in his worst time. In the end, Neku wakes up in Shibuya despite losing to Joshua. All his friends are there except Joshua. In his final battle with him, both Neku and he had to pay. It's pretty open-ended as what their prices actually were, so here's my opinion. Neku's entry fee was the freedom of the entirety of Shibuya, including Shiki, Joshua, and Beat. Joshua's entry fee was likely his relationship with Neku, as he began to develop emotions for him. It was the thing most important to him, being a god of sorts. He didn't have much else, and Neku was something different. The Joshua wins, Shibuya is still restored. Perhaps the real requirement to win was to not shoot, but more than likely, Joshua sacrificed what he had, and gave Neku and the whole of Shibuya another chance. In the end, he still had to pay, and he could only watch Neku remorsefully from above. If Neku, the worst person in Shibuya, can change and become so important to this god figure, it's not unreasonable to say everyone else deserves a chance, right?